There is a video circulating right now that has been watched more than 40 million times. A man in a baseball cap climbs a ladder, holds up what looks like an oversized bar of soap, and rubs it across a cracked roof shingle. He smiles at the camera and says 4 words that have launched an entire economy of $12 miracle products. 30 years, no leaks. The block in his hand is wax, just wax. Paraffin, beeswax, or some microcrystalline blend poured into a mold and shrink-wrapped with a label that promises to seal any roof on the planet for 3 decades. The comments are flooded with homeowners tagging their spouses, ordering 2 at a time, canceling appointments with roofing contractors. The product has spawned dozens of imitators on Amazon, TikTok Shop, and Temu, each one undercutting the last on price. And here is the strange part. The chemistry behind the claim is not entirely wrong. Wax really is hydrophobic. Wax really can self-heal. There are peer-reviewed studies, real laboratories, and actual published data showing that paraffin wax can seal cracks under certain conditions. So before we dismiss this as another internet scam, we need to understand exactly why it almost works, and exactly where the science collapses the moment that block of wax meets a real roof in the middle of a real summer. Start with the molecule itself. Paraffin wax is a long-chain hydrocarbon. The chains are non-polar, which is the technical way of saying they do not want anything to do with water. When a droplet of water lands on a paraffin surface, it cannot form the hydrogen bonds it needs to spread out, so it pulls itself into a bead and rolls away. This is the same effect you see on a freshly waxed car or a duck's feathers. Beeswax does the same thing through a slightly different chemistry involving long-chain esters. Microcrystalline wax, refined from heavier petroleum fractions, behaves similarly with even smaller crystals and a higher melting point. Every one of these waxes is genuinely water repellent. That is not marketing language. That is physical chemistry. And the people making these videos have correctly identified one of the most basic properties of wax. The problem is that they have built a 30-year warranty on top of a property that lasts a few months at best. The story gets more interesting because there is a real study that the marketers love to reference, even if they never cite it directly. Researchers documented paraffin wax self-sealing behavior in artificial leaks inside a heat storage tank, and the numbers are striking. Mass loss through the punctures ranged from just 1.5% to 17%, depending on conditions. The wax, when warmed, flowed into the breach. As it cooled, it solidified and closed the opening. When the tank heated up again, the wax remelted and resealed any new cracks that had formed. This is a legitimate self-healing material behavior, and it is the same principle being explored in cutting-edge research on self-healing concrete. Scientists are encapsulating tiny droplets of paraffin inside concrete mixes so that when a crack forms, the capsules rupture and the wax flows into the gap. Biowax coatings made from soy oil, rapeseed oil, and beeswax have survived 3,000 consecutive water droplet impact tests in published sustainability studies without losing their ability to repel water. So when a TikTok creator tells you that wax is a self-healing waterproof material, they are not technically lying. They are just leaving out everything that matters. What they leave out is the roof. Real roofs are not insulated storage tanks. Real roofs are some of the most hostile environments any material can be asked to survive. Start with the sun. Ultraviolet radiation is brutal on hydrocarbons. The same long chains that make paraffin hydrophobic are also vulnerable to photodegradation. Ultraviolet light breaks the molecular bonds, oxidizes the surface, and turns a smooth wax coating into a brittle yellowed crust within a matter of months. Manufacturer safety data sheets for paraffin and microcrystalline waxes routinely warn that the product is not intended as an exterior coating on sun-exposed structures. The companies that actually make wax tell you not to put it on your roof. The companies that repackage that wax and sell it as a roof sealer simply do not include that warning on the label. Then there is the heat. An asphalt shingle roof in direct summer sun does not stay at ambient temperature. Surface temperatures on dark shingles routinely reach 150 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot enough to fry an egg, and it is hot enough to do something much worse to your wax block. Paraffin wax has a melting point of roughly 99 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the grade. Read that number again. The melting point of the wax is lower than the temperature your roof reaches on a normal July afternoon. The product is literally being deployed in conditions hotter than its phase transition. It does not seal. It liquefies. It runs down the slope of your roof and pools in the gutter. By the time the sun sets and the temperature drops, your seal is gone and the crack is wide open. Beeswax has a slightly higher melting point around 144 to 147 degrees Fahrenheit, which buys you maybe a few extra weeks before the same thing happens. If you live somewhere cold, the failure mode is different but no less complete. Wax becomes brittle as it cools. Overnight temperature drops cause the material to contract, and because it is bonded to a substrate that contracts at a different rate, the wax cracks. These microfractures are exactly the leak paths the product was sold to close. The seal opens itself. Freeze-thaw cycles accelerate the damage. Every morning the wax expands. Every night it contracts. Every cycle widens the cracks. A roofing contractor named Polar Coatingsfield tested this hack under real conditions and documented the result on camera. The seal failed visibly within a single season. The wax cracked overnight as it cooled. Homeowners who tried the trick reported leaks returning after the very first heavy rain. The viral video never shows the follow-up 6 months later because there is no follow-up worth showing. This is the gap between the laboratory and the rooftop, and it is where almost every viral home repair hack dies. The published study on paraffin self-sealing was conducted inside an insulated tank where temperatures were carefully controlled, where there was no ultraviolet light, no wind, no debris, no thermal shock, no freeze-thaw, no rain, no foot traffic. Inside that tank, wax is a miracle material. On top of your house, it is a candle. The professional alternatives exist because the industry already learned this lesson decades ago. A properly applied polyurethane roof sealant achieves 10 to 20 years of reliable service. A silicone roof restoration system on a low-slope commercial roof can last just as long. EPDM, rubber membrane systems with heat-welded seams, routinely deliver 30 years or more. Elastomeric coatings give you genuine waterproofing when applied at proper thickness on a clean, primed substrate. And that phrase, proper thickness, is the final nail in the wax block's coffin. True long-term roof protection requires coverage measured in mils, typically 30 mils or more, applied across a prepared surface with controlled conditions. A block of wax rubbed across a shingle by hand delivers maybe 30 microns of inconsistent, patchy coverage. That is a difference of 3 orders of magnitude. It is not the same product. It is not even the same category of product. None of this means that wax has no legitimate use as a sealer. It absolutely does. Skidmore's liquid beeswax sealer is a real product with real applications on wood siding and cedar shakes. ATSCO's beeswax waterproofing has been used for decades on fabric, leather, hiking boots, canvas tents, and small wood penetrations. These products work because they are deployed in the right place with honest expectations. They provide short-term water repellency, not structural waterproofing, and the manufacturers say so clearly on the label. Wax can serve as a genuinely useful emergency patch. If you find a small gap in your flashing during a rainstorm and the contractor cannot come until Tuesday, smearing some wax into the gap will buy you a few days. That is a real and valid use case. But it is measured in days and months, not in decades. The moment the marketing claim crosses from temporary patch into 30-year warranty, it leaves science behind entirely. So what does real 30-year roof protection actually look like? It looks like a properly installed asphalt shingle system with manufacturer-rated underlayment, ice and water shield in the valleys, metal flashing around every chimney, vent and skylight, and ridge ventilation that prevents the heat buildup that destroys roofs from the inside. It looks like an EPDM or TPO membrane on a low-slope roof, mechanically fastened and seam-welded by trained installers. It looks like a silicone restoration coating applied at 15 to 30 wet mils over a power-washed and primed substrate. It looks like a metal standing seam roof that may genuinely outlast the house it sits on. None of these solutions come in a $12 block from an Amazon storefront. All of them require labor, preparation, and a real warranty backed by a real company that will still exist in 30 years. The deeper lesson here is not really about wax. It is about how viral marketing exploits the gap between a true premise and a false conclusion. The premise is true. Wax repels water. Wax can self-heal under certain conditions. Wax is a fascinating and underappreciated material with legitimate scientific applications. The conclusion is false. None of those properties translate into 30 years of roof protection in real-world conditions. A skilled marketer takes the true premise, films a 30-second video that makes the property look magical, and lets your brain fill in the missing logical steps with optimism. The product sells millions of units before anyone has owned one long enough to notice it failed. By the time the reviews catch up, the seller has rebranded, relisted, and moved on to the next miracle. Hydrophobicity is real. Self-healing materials are real. The science is genuinely beautiful, and there are researchers spending entire careers turning these properties into legitimate products that will eventually change how we build things. But none of that work is happening in the candle aisle. Real waterproofing comes from the roofing aisle, from a contractor with insurance, and from materials engineered to survive the very specific hell of sitting on top of a house for 3 decades. A $12 block of wax cannot do that job. It was never designed to. And no amount of viral video editing will change the melting point of paraffin.